Uncorked in conversation, where the stories start flowing. Ashley and Dawn keep the good vibes going. Grab your moment, take a sip, tune in. Uncorked in conversation, let's begin.
Welcome to Uncorked in Conversation. I'm Ashley Martin, President and CEO.
And I'm Dawn Blatch, Vice President and Chief People Officer.
And we have a special guest with us today, Todd Nowicki, Senior Vice President of Finance. Welcome, Todd.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, Todd.
And what are you drinking, Todd?
I'm drinking Jameson,
All right.
Irish whiskey.
And Dawn and I each have a glass of wine, so cheers.
Cheers.
All right, Todd. So our first question, it's an easy question. We want to hear about your NIBCO story, your career here at NIBCO, and how long have you been with NIBCO?
Well, I've been at NIBCO 41 plus years. In May, it'll be 42. My career at NIBCO has been, maybe not the most typical. I started out as an industrial engineer in our Goshen plant and spent about 7 years in the manufacturing side of the business, came over to the corporate office in a director of manufacturing role, and I had several plants reporting to me in that position. Spent a couple of years heading up our engineering effort for the residential division. And then in the early 90s, I decided that having some finance in my background might be a good thing to do. So I raised my hand, and the CFO at that time, he came down and, are you sure you want to do something like this? I said, sure. So before I know it, I was a division controller. And believe me, I had no idea what I signed up for. And the first probably 3 or 4 years were just an incredible trial by fire learning experience. I had no idea what the monthly close was. I had no idea what was involved in board meetings, the annual audits. And, back in those days, we had old systems and things like that. A lot of the work was very manual and very time consuming. And it took a long time to learn everything that I needed to know. And over time, it got better. And my manufacturing background, the engineering background, my analytical skills, over time, it became just a very good fit for me and for the company.
So why did you decide you needed that finance as part of your background? What made you think that was necessary for your career?
And it was then, and it probably is today, a business person needs to understand the numbers. Everything we do involves numbers. So, what better way to get that than through the finance organization? And I really didn't imagine spending the next 30 years of my life doing that, but it suited me well. I think over time it suited the company well, and I provided value, and it just worked out, for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. And I like hearing about unconventional, career paths like that. We try to talk about the next step in your career. You might not be one you're expecting. I know Dawn's had a story where, someone put her up for a promotion and she was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't know that I'm right for that. And it ended up changing, her trajectory. So, I liked hearing your story. Thank you, Todd, for sharing.
And along those lines, I don't know if we do it as much today as we did back then, but we used to, move people around. We had accountants going out to the plants and, being, at that time, it was called an office manager role. And then some of them became plant managers. We had people from the plants come into the accounting organization. So that was a great feeder system and a development approach that we could probably learn from and maybe go back to in some respects.
Yeah, and was that a formal program we used to have?
No, it
No.
was based on each person's abilities and interests.
And did they actually like relocate to
Oh,
that?
yeah.
So it wasn't just a visit for a couple weeks. They
Oh, yeah.
moved to that location.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Dawn, you need to get on
Right, I
that.
need to get on that. But but to your point, but to both of your points, being here throughout my career and having different roles like you, Todd, I've seen that. That's one of the pitching things that I say when
Mhm.
I'm recruiting is NIBCO doesn't pigeonhole you into like a position, right? So like you came out as an engineer. Well, NIBCO doesn't say, no, Todd, you went to school to be an engineer. You're a great engineer. Stick with what you know, right? We are an organization that opens those opportunities when somebody wants to cross train or cross function. And a lot of that is dependent today on somebody raising their hand where, maybe before like these instances that you're saying, somebody identified someone and was like, hey, I think you'd be great in Blytheville or, whatever that instance might be at that time. And getting back to some of that, I think would be fantastic for our culture to say, when you're looking at something, you don't have to be an expert in it, but raise your hand, let somebody in management know, I'm an engineer and I really like the numbers. So could there be an opportunity for me in accounting or whatever that looks
Mhm.
like?
Yep, exactly.
And now that we do have so many different companies and different locations across the United States, stepping up and saying, yes, I will move is a big part of that too. Would be a great way to show that you're wanting to take that next step in the career.
We just should not bring people to Elkhart, Indiana in February when it's 3
Yeah.
degrees.
And try to sell them on living here?
And we have a foot of snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't typically say yes
Yeah.
to that offer. So, Todd, if you weren't in finance, what would you be doing?
What I'm most passionate about is woodworking. And it's too late to do a do-over. But, if I had done some things differently, I might be a carpenter or cabinet builder or furniture maker or something like that. I mean, I really enjoy working with my hands, taking something I see and trying to, create it.
Is that something you had formal training on, or you just one day picked up the craft and
Absolutely not.
yeah.
Everything I do in life, Dawn, is the hard way. I I just, one day I decided I wanted to build something, so I got some tools, I got some wood, and I started working, and little by little, you get more tools, you get more experience, and, it I'm by no means a professional, don't get me wrong, but, I've done some things that I'm proud of.
What's your most prized tool that you have?
People on the call or the podcast won't know what this is, but it's a biscuit joiner.
Okay. Okay. And what does it do?
I was gonna say,
Explain
I
to
don't
us.
know what that is.
It joins wood together.
Okay.
So, you can use nails, screws, dowels. This uses biscuits, wood biscuits. And I've done so many things with that one tool. It's just incredible.
So if anybody was to get started, would you recommend them get that tool if they were saying, you know what,
Yeah,
Todd's doing it. This is something that I'm passionate about. I want to
that,
take that leap.
that and a good table saw.
Okay.
I still don't have the good table saw.
Okay. You're working on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
working on that.
What piece are you most proud of that you've made, and do you still have it?
Um, I don't have it. I usually give the stuff away, but recently I made my daughter a wine server, and it was probably of everything I've made the best yet. I mean, the joints were nice and tight. The way I worked the wood grain and everything worked out well. I'm very pleased with that piece. And I just saw it this weekend, and she's taking good care of it.
That's good.
That's important.
Yeah.
Is there a specific type of wood that you enjoy working with more than another?
Working with maple is just incredible. It's a very nice wood to work with, but it's very expensive. So I use a lot of poplar, which, it's, it's okay, but you're not going to get the same characteristics that you would with a cherry or a maple. But maple's beautiful.
So you finished the wine for your daughter. You've gotten that taken care of. What are you working on right now?
My son just contacted me at lunch today. I'm going to be building a deck in April.
Oh, great. I was about about to ask, how do you get on the list of how you get something from Todd?
Yeah.
You just ask, apparently.
So yeah, I'm going to spend a couple weekends in Indianapolis helping build a deck.
Will that be like a custom deck that you'll be doing?
Assuming, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what his plan is, but
Well, that's very nice of you to
So nice.
give up your time to do that.
have tools. We'll travel,
Okay. Good to know.
and there's plenty of refreshments down there when I go. So
I bet.
I was going to say, and just a good bottle of scotch, right?
he's a bourbon drinker.
Bourbon, okay.
And, yeah, so we do bourbon down there.
Great. Okay, Todd, off topic. I have a question for you. Between you and I and our roles, if we were to swap roles, who do you think would survive the longest?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Dawn. I think I'd last longer in your job than you would in mine.
I agree, but
But
elaborate more for me.
It may only be minutes, but I think I would last longer.
I would agree with that. I think you definitely would last longer than me.
And I don't mean that negatively. The numbers side of things, as I've learned from my own experience, I mean, it's a tough road, and you've got to have some background. And I really do wish I had an accounting degree so that I knew more of what I don't know. But, turning the tables, I'm not a very people person. So I don't know how.
You're better at it than you think you are, Todd.
I'm not sure I could handle, what you deal with on a day-to-day basis for very long. I mean, I've had some people that I've had to manage over the years that push them on anybody.
You would have brought them to me gladly.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, I go back. I mean, Ross Martin said it, the best product we have is our people, and there's no question in that. But some days it's tougher than others.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
and I will tell you, when you encounter the ideal associate, you know it and you love it. I mean, somebody that, they just willingly, attack things, show the initiative. They're, helpful, cheerful. It's an incredible experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely would agree with you. You can identify people that shine our core values
Mhm.
pretty quickly and easily, and I enjoy that more than anything. And everybody bumps their head every once in a while. I've certainly
Sure.
had growth opportunities in my career, so it definitely goes a part of how we harness that for associates and get them. Sometimes it just takes somebody to see the potential in them. To get them there. And I think the path of your and I career, clearly we would have to say we had people along the way, right, that caused us to
Yep.
say, well, I'm really good at this. We could have stayed doing that. You could have stayed being a very successful engineer. I have to believe that. I could have stayed having a very lucrative career and successfully in customer service. But people saw other things in us at times. I know earlier Ashley said that somebody tapped me, and it was the radiant heating role. And I remember Phil, he's retired a long time ago from us. And I didn't even interact with him very often, but he tapped me one day and he said, did you see that posting on the board? And this is back when we printed everything and put it on the bulletin boards. And I said, well, the only thing I saw of there was for a radiant heating role. And he's like, yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Did you see it? And I said, well, yeah, I saw it. So I think you should put your name in the hat for it. And I was like,
Mhm.
I'm not an engineer. I don't know how to design and troubleshoot and install heating systems. He said, I think you should put your name in for it. And I just remember thinking, well, what's the worst that could happen? And so, I put my name in for it, and that position alone was the catalyst that transitioned my entire career. Because it aligned me with people that were able to see me and my ability. And another thing I'll say, when you're the only person in the company that knows anything about radiant heating, you come across really, really, really good
Yep.
at it to everybody else. So that was helpful as well.
You are dead on when you talk about people that, noticed you, paid attention to you, helped you along the way. I've had a few of those, and that's necessary. You got to have that.
You got to have that. Absolutely. And I'm sure you've also had people along the way that you've shown that same level of mentorship or sponsorship to that you see. I think we always can say I know I could say, I won't give any names, but there are definitely people that I could say, I see my younger self in this person. And with some of that mentoring and sponsorship and putting them in places that might not be real comfortable, because I don't know about you, but I was put in a lot of places I didn't feel real comfortable at the
Mhm.
time, but were, so beneficial to me later on. And so I do think when we have had a career like, you and I, that we have to reach back for those people that are still climbing, because there will be a day that we'll go into retirement and live our best next chapter, and it helps to know that we're setting the company up for success for that next
Well,
generation.
I hope I've had, some of that impact on people. You'll never know, but I hope I have.
I would definitely say you have. I've really enjoyed getting to know you more the past 2 years.
Mhm.
I've gotten to see a different side to you, and I say to people all the time, Todd is really funny. Like,
I
if
get
you just have
funnier
a
when
conversation.
I get funnier the more I drink.
Touche. I do too. I agree. I definitely would say the same. But I tell people all the time I have really enjoyed getting to know you on a different level since I've been on the executive team than I did before, because you really can just see what somebody's about. And I do tell people I talk about your woodworking because I just learned that myself. And I say a lot, Todd is really funny. If you just sit down and have a conversation with him, he's hilarious. And you're even funnier because you don't intend to be funny. Like, that's
Yep.
the best part of it.
Okay, so I have a question, Todd. So, clearly you worked with Rex the longest, me a little bit. Did you work with Lee at all?
I had just a handful of interactions with Lee. What do you want to know?
I was gonna say, who's the best leader?
Well, obviously, you, Ashley.
Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. Just so everyone knows, Todd took a big sip of his drink.
He said, let me finish this and then I'll get to this question. And I have a funny Lee comment that you made to me one day after a meeting, but you go ahead and answer her question first.
You know, I'm not going to answer that question entirely, but I will say Lee was unique and different.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was a, smart business person, smart person in general, but he was scary.
Never heard that before. That's definitely new. He was an engineer by trade, so I do
Yeah.
know he really liked, processes and um doing it, to a standard and having it kind of the same repetitively.
But, when you heard Lee was around, you buttoned up and you you
Tightened
made
up real quick,
yeah,
huh?
you made sure that, okay, you weren't seen or heard. Uh, there was one time, and I don't know what prompted it, I got called into his office, and I was director of manufacturing in the residential division at the time, and he wanted to know how many of a particular plumbing and heating valve we could make in an hour.
Oh,
Wow.
that's
And I did not know. And he let me know that I needed to know that.
oh.
And it was my job to know that. And it wasn't a nice, gentle suggestion.
One of those things you never forgot
Yeah,
later.
I made sure I got the answer to that question.
Had it in your back pocket at
Yeah.
all times.
Yeah, but, my interactions with him were, not, many, but, I've had other positive ones with him as well.
Do
And
you
your dad, Rex was, you know, just very, very nice, good leader. And, I could remember being at, Rex and Alice's house for a, event, and, he just went out of his way to make me comfortable, my wife at the time comfortable, and, I mean, he was just gracious.
Oh, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, that is great. I don't know if you remember this or not, Todd, but it was shortly after I moved up to the fifth floor and we were in a meeting in the boardroom. And for the listeners, if you haven't had a chance to meet me, I'm a little loud.
Not you.
I'm a little loud and, high energy. And we were opening the doors back to the boardroom, and you were making mention that Lee always sat in Brian's office.
Mhm. Yep.
And I said, "Oh, really? Why?" And you said, "Well, he didn't want windows. He did not want an office with any windows because he said windows were nothing but a distraction." And you were telling me how had to tighten up, around him, and he didn't have any room for any joke. And I mean, it was about the business all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But I could tell the way that you were directing it to me. So I said, "So what you're saying is I would not have done well in Lee's time, correct, Todd?" And you're like, "All I'm saying is." So I said, "Well, I guess there was a reason I came a couple generations after that."
When I joined the company, you had to hear all the stories from the people that had been around. I've been with the company a while, so I'm going to share some of those stories.
As you
or
should.
some of my own stories. But when I joined in 1984, twice a day, there was a 10-minute break. And it was just incredible to see, one was at 10 o'clock, and I think the other was at 2. At 10 o'clock, everybody stood up and they went to the break room. 10:10, they all stood up, went back to their desks. Same thing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You could not have drinks or food of any sort at your desk. And I'm, right out of college, and I'm seeing all this stuff, and it's like, what is going on around here? I mean, these are adults, and I was working next to a woman, and she had a bag of chips, and she was hiding it on her desk, eating her chip. I mean, that's the way it was back in 1984.
And that was at Goshen. You started it.
Well, that was actually, I spent, the first 3 months here at the, actually, it was in the
that was
east
here
side.
at the corporate.
It was in the East Side building in the engineering department. Yeah.
Was there a lunch break or no?
Oh, yeah,
Just
there was a lunch break.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I went to lunch one day and got caught by a train like you do here in Elkhart.
Yeah.
Especially right here.
And I came in late, and you would have thought the world was coming to an end. I got so much stink eye from coming in late from lunch.
I'm trying to visualize this atmosphere where literally at 10 o'clock, everybody uniformly stands up, walks to a break room, and then 10 minutes later, everybody uniformly stands up and walks back to their assigned areas.
I kid you not. That's exactly the way it was.
Wow. Did
Yep.
everybody take the same lunch as well? Was it?
Yeah.
So basically, operations ceased at the same time for everyone every day.
Yep. We have progressed a lot.
We
In
have
41 years,
progressed.
good. I'm glad we
Yes,
have
that's very
progressed.
good. Yeah, I was going to say there is a lot of eating and drinking at the desk area now. That's for sure at the
Yep.
office. Yeah,
We've relaxed a little bit.
we have. We've
I would not
definitely
be
relaxed.
I would not be great at coming in right on time from lunch. I'm typically pretty late.
There had to be hangry people all the time. If you can you imagine? You had to wait. You had to wait till 10 o'clock. No snacking. There'll be none of that. Nothing to drink. What about coffee? How would you enjoy a cup of coffee?
You did not have anything at your desk. That was what the breaks were for.
Okay. I am happy of the progression that we have made over the years. That's for sure.
All right, Todd. Now we got to ask you some important questions. We all want to know about the cash now, okay? We want to hear about our bonus.
That's right, Todd.
Hey, I like cash too.
I would hope so, as the vice president of finance, that you would like cash.
So what do you want to know?
So how are we doing? How did we end 2025? How are we looking? I know the board does approve our bonuses, but how are we looking?
Well, in terms of our EBITDA performance, we just missed maxing out a little bit. So we will not hit max payouts this year.
And what was the max we were trying to hit?
I want to say 188 million was the max EBITDA that we had to achieve. 188.3 million, and we just missed it by a couple $1 million.
So, I mean, we were really close.
Yes, we were.
So still a pretty good year.
Yeah, and again, I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed in the bonus. We did not max, though. And from a range standpoint, and the board has approved these, the low
That's
end of the
exciting.
range,
Yeah.
the low end of the range was 2.9%, and the high end of the range was 3.97%.
Which is actually phenomenal.
Yes, it is.
Target is 2%, and it sounds like all locations are above that.
Exactly.
Substantially.
Yeah. And, if you look at it in terms of the wage increases we gave this last year, essentially, people have gotten sort of double the wage increase.
That's a great
Cheers
way to let.
that.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's great.
So-
Happy IB Friday,
Happy
everybody.
IB Friday. Thanks for the great information, Todd.
I'm glad to help.
That's a good reason to celebrate,
Yes,
right?
yes, it is.
Todd, first I want to say thank you so much for giving your entire career to NIBCO. You're such a valuable associate to us in almost 42 years. So when you started in 1984, what caused you to give your entire career to NIBCO?
It's kind of, I guess, cliche, but this is a really good company. They, really stood behind me. I mean, as I described my career progression, that is very atypical. And, they could have, stopped it at any time. They didn't have to do that, but they put up with it. They put up with the mistakes. They worked with me and so on and so forth. Uh, Throughout that whole period of time, I've had, just the ability to do a lot of different things, interesting things, fun things. The people that I have worked with are, incredible. I've got so many memories of people that have, been in my past, in my present day position and so forth. Just really good uh, memories. Financially, uh, I have no complaints about, the compensation and the benefits. It's been a good, solid, you know, career. And, I never had to worry about, when the paychecks were coming in, there was benefits. I've raised 3 kids, put them through college. What more could you ask for in life? I'm extremely satisfied and pleased. And I don't think I'm the only one at NIBCO that can say that. I think I'm saying what many, many, many people over, 125 years can attest to.
Yeah. I would agree with your answer to that. It's been phenomenal, and it sounds like a lot of things that you're saying, having the support, having friends, it's really what you think about when you embody the word family, right?
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
reality is, in the course of anyone's career, you spend more time working than you do outside. You
Right.
spend more time with your work family than you do with your actual family, and it's got to be good,
Yeah.
right? To keep somebody wanting to give their entire career, that comes with a lot of different things that have to be working really well together. Because at any point, you could have been an engineer anywhere, right? You could have worked in accounting anywhere. Those are positions that aren't unique to NIBCO as an organization, but you chose to give almost 42 years of your life to us. And we appreciate it so much. And I always love these stories when people can say, well, it's because of people along the way. Even if it's just a coworker, right?
Mhm.
You can mentor and guide somebody and not have to be in a management or leadership position. And I truly appreciate you sharing that part of your story because I always want to hear it. The financial stuff is always good, right?
Sure.
You said it allowed you to raise 3 children. Here. I have a similar story. I have 4 children, and NIBCO's always been good to me, and I was always able to put food on the table
Yeah.
every single night. And I had a lot of people along the way that helped with that. And so I love the stories of people that truly stick through it and have that longevity with us. The stories are always very similar.
And you can always come up with a case for the grass being greener somewhere else, but
Absolutely.
but you know, you don't know how long it's going to last. I never had to think about that. I mean, NIBCO was here. It was going to be here. I had a job. I could count on it.
Yeah.
You go to some other company, 2 years down the road, they're sold to a private equity outfit and your job is gone.
Yeah.
That wasn't going to happen here.
Yeah. I wish I had the stats here, Todd. If I knew we were going to go down this road with this conversation, I'd bring the stats on how many times we rehire people
Yeah.
that they thought the grass was greener on the other side, and they come back. They come back to NIBCO, which is a wonderful thing, and then they end up, giving us their career, right? And sometimes people do that, but to your point, things change all the time. And when you're looking at maybe an offer, $1 more, or whatever that looks like, and yeah, that can be very appealing to people. But what comes with that, right? And so I love this that yeah, people will do that, but our list of rehires continues to grow every year, and it's something that's very normal.
And, another thing that I will say is, the benefits accrue over time.
Yes.
So I've been fortunate enough to be able to participate in the bonus plan, the stock purchase plan in all its forms over the years. And, as I look towards, my future and retirement and so on and so forth, you know, I don't have to worry. The nest egg has grown. The growth in the NIBCO stock price has been phenomenal over my 40 years. And, just the last 5 years, it's been, incredible. So, people have to, realize you're signing up for, a career at NIBCO, not, a short stint. And if you do that, you will not be disappointed.
We share this story a lot in HR about how if you come in and you establish, just leaning into what you were just saying, and you give a career to NIBCO and you invest in the 401k and the stock options and you do those things, you will retire a millionaire. I've said it many times. Somebody said it to me when I was, in my 20s and just starting out. And recently, I had a retiree last year at one of our plant locations, and I was, saying bye to this person, and this person said, "Come here, I want to talk to you for a minute," and pulled me away from the group I was standing with. And I said, "Yeah, what's going on?" He said, "You remember when you said if you stick with NIBCO and you invest and take advantage of the programs and the benefits, you'll retire a millionaire?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I absolutely remember that." And he was like, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Good for you.
That's right.
Good for
And
you."
he was proud of that.
He was
should
so
be.
proud of that, and he should be proud of that. And that's exactly what we have to offer here. And it's not a gimmick. It's not people just saying that. It is the reality of what can happen for anybody who joins NIBCO and really commits to us, because we want to see that for our associates. That's why we give so much into our programs.
Exactly, Dawn. Exactly.
So, Todd, can we ask, what's next for you?
Oh, I'm not sure, but I do believe that retirement is coming.
So what do you plan to do in your retirement? Are you going to be building more things with your woodworking skills?
For sure. And
Hey, Ashley, we got to get on the list before
I
this
know.
happens, so we can
We
get
got
an
to figure
item.
out what we want to ask for.
Exactly.
for sure. And, in the last, year and a half, two of my children have gifted me with grandsons. So I'm going to be spending time with grandchildren and, hopefully not worrying about month-end close, board meetings, and
Or Lee pulling you into his office.
looking for, be able to do the things that, maybe I haven't had time to do.
Well, congratulations, and thank you for all that you've done for
Thank
NIBCO.
you.
You've been a wonderful part of it for a very long time, and I just want to say thank you. And congratulations on this next step for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're our first official guest.
Well,
Thank you so
thank you for
much.
being our first guest.
Well, thank you for having me for 41 plus years.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
And congratulations to everyone on IB Friday. Woohoo! Cheers!
Ching, ching.
Ching, ching.
Uncorked in Conversation is hitting the road. We're taking it on the road. We're going to Blytheville, Arkansas.
Road trip.
We will have Rudy Smith and Jeff Cunningham on our next podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and catch us next time in Blytheville, Arkansas.